Hi everyone, it's been a little while. We're all in lockdown again. A little bit shorter this time, hopefully. A little bit different because I'll still be going to work, but thought I might as well start filming some videos again. Thought it might be quite interesting. I haven't made much of a plan yet. I know I'm going to do some crafty stuff and maybe teach you all how to do some sort of Christmassy type things. I haven't planned anything yet at all, so today's a bit last minute and I'm going to talk about these guys. Anyone who's been anywhere near me the last couple of months knows that I've been looking after a whole bunch of snails. just garden snails. Nothing fancy. They're not African land snails or anything like that. But yeah, these guys are my pets now. So I thought I'd just do a little video to show you how I look after them, talk a little bit about them in general, weird little facts about them, things like that. It's quite a fun thing to do with kids because you can sort of teach them a little bit about wildlife while looking after them, and it's kind of fascinating to watch them eat and figure out what each one likes and stuff. So they are quite cool. I realise how sad I sound saying that. So this is Sweet Pea. She's my biggest snail. She's just a regular garden snail. Was quite a bit smaller when I first brought her home. You will notice I refer to all of my snails with names. They have genders. I've shoved all of this upon them. They don't have genders at all. Snails are hermaphrodites. They are both male and female, technically. Or neither, whichever way you want to look at it, really. I don't know, you just get this feeling, don't you? As people, we project what we think we see onto animals and inanimate objects, and Sweet Pea is a big girl. She's adorable, though. She's very, very sweet. She's having a little wander around. She's not normally awake during the day. I will admit to having woken her up specifically for this video. Yeah, I know, kind of cruel. It's okay, she'll go back to sleep as soon as she's back in her tank. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're all looking at me like, either you're looking at this thinking, yeah, this is really cool, or you're looking at it thinking, how cruel, how could you do that? How could you bring in a wild animal and keep it as your prisoner in your room? These snails live like kings and queens. They're not being eaten by birds, for starters, or anything else that might want to eat them. As much as my stepdad threatens to cover them in garlic butter and consume them every day, it's not happening. Their little tanks are paradises of all sorts of things that they can eat and hide in and explore, and I like to think I'm keeping them quite happy. And they keep me quite happy. That's always a good thing. I never intended to end up with 7. I have 7 in total. I started off with 3. And it just sort of went from there a bit. I didn't buy them, I just sort of found them outside wherever I went, really. Sweet Pea only came from just outside the house, actually. She was on a garden wall out there. She came in with Balthazar and Thumbelina. Thumbelina was tiny. She was smaller than the nail on my little finger. She was absolutely tiny. She's way bigger now. She's grown so much, honestly. I don't know what kind of snail she is, that's the thing. She eats differently to this one here, but looks very similar, so I don't know. It could be something completely different. Could be exactly the same with a different pattern shell, maybe. I don't know. She's off. So they are cold. This was something I wasn't expecting when I first put them on my hands, was that they're very cold. But then I suppose they're not warm-blooded creatures, are they? Just waiting for her to climb up onto my other hand, because otherwise she's going to end up on my clothes. And they can't really see. Not as such. They do have eye stalks, but they can't really properly see. They sort of sense the world around them more than anything else. Look at her go. And then they move around on one big muscular foot, which is creepy to say out loud. But when they're in their tanks, it's kind of fascinating. When they're moving around on the see-through sort of panels, you can see the muscles sort of rippling as they're going along the... It's very cool. They only have one lung. As far as I've read, they've all only have one lung. Some species even have 5 anuses. I think that's specific to abalone snails, but a weird fact I picked up halfway along is that some of them have more than one bum. But they do have 47,000 teeth. Why you go around with one lung and 47,000 teeth, I honestly don't know. It's beyond me. Clearly useful to them. But their teeth are all in a little mouth part called a radula. And they use that to obviously eat their food. And these guys chew on cuttlefish. They have to have calcium so that they can grow their shells bigger as they get bigger inside. But you can hear it at night when they're up. They're nocturnal, so they're normally up at night. I can hear them scraping on the cuttlefish as they eat it. It's quite loud, actually. It's really strange. It's a bit of a process of elimination, finding out what they eat. I mean, obviously the default, lettuce. They all eat lettuce, and they tend to prefer the little gem that I've been giving them. They have eaten a bit of iceberg. They're not so fussed about iceberg. I haven't tried them on anything else yet, but we have got some romaine in the fridge that they're going to try later in the week. But like I said, they're all different. They will all eat different stuff. So Thumbelina really loves cucumber. But the others aren't that particularly fussed about the cucumber. And then Lazarus, who's a right weirdo, I'll tell you more about him in a minute. Lazarus likes blueberries, so he eats a lot of those. But they do eat sort of moss and lichen as well, so I keep plenty of twigs and sticks and things in the tanks with them so they can eat some moss and lichen as well if they wanted to. Sometimes they'll eat a bit of bark. Some species will eat other insects as well. I don't think these guys do. There is, of course, a slight peril that, I mean, I've got all this dirt and rotting vegetation in my room now. So we do get a few flies every now and then. They won't eat those. They can't catch them. They're too slow. But I'll be rectifying that. So I've basically set up a small ecosystem in my room because there's a carnivorous plant in here that will eat the flies that come out of the tanks from the snails. So there's a whole thing going on. It's all under control. You're probably looking at me thinking, why snails? Why have you got snails? Everyone thinks, when I tell them I keep snails, they think, oh, African land snails, how cool. And I'm like, no, they're just garden snails. You keep garden snails? Yeah, why not? Someone I know this year started keeping caterpillars. So he'd feed them, watch them cocoon, and then watch them metamorphose into butterflies, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And my brain immediately went, I wonder if you can look after snails. And I've always had a bit of a fondness for snails. There's something about them I think is adorable. I've got an affinity with their slow pace in life. It goes without saying, if you are going to do anything like this, wash your hands after you've dealt with them. Because you don't know what they could be carrying. I mean, they're generally... Garden snails are edible, so not any particular threat to us. But it's always worth washing your hands anyway, and if you touch anything inside the tanks, always wash your hands after that as well. And we have a dog. A lot of you will know we have a dog. Don't let her anywhere near them. Well, she's been close enough to sniff them a couple of times, but if she got one and ate one, she could catch lungworm from them, so just not worth letting them anywhere near your dogs, really. But she's not fussed. I have them out and she'll have a look and she'll be like, oh, what's that? Walk away. I'm going to put her back and show you the insides of the tanks. Or I'm going to try to. They're a bit moist. They've just been sprayed this morning. I will spray them in the morning, which does mean the sides are a bit hard to look through at the moment, but I'll do my best. Look at her. She's being all long. They stretch a lot. They stretch way more than I'd ever expect. Wash your damn hands. So these are my tanks. You can see one's quite a bit bigger than the other. The little one is the new one. It's Lazarus and Sweet Pea's penthouse. And then the bigger one has got everyone else in it. I'm still moving around a little bit. And not enough for you to see the foot moving though. That's a shame. They're probably settling down now. So this is Lazarus. He is my little weirdo. He came out the fridge. There was a punnet of grapes in the fridge. I took it out one day just to eat some of the grapes, and out drops this tiny snail shell. And it was him. I was like, oh God, what am I going to do with that? So I popped him into the tank just to see if he'd be okay. And yeah, he's fine. He's doubled in size since then. He loves a blueberry. It's turning his shell purple. Just about to see at the end there. Wasn't expecting that. I don't know what he is. He could be anything. He could have come all the way from Spain with the grapes for all I know. But whatever he eats seems to affect the colour of his shell, which is quite cool. But he doesn't sleep properly either. He hangs half out of his shell when he's asleep. And spends a lot of time climbing all over all of the others. He's a right character. Yeah, this is the newer of the two tanks, as I said. I've set it up with lots of moss. And that's an asparagus fern in the back there. The food is kind of all over the floor at the moment. I'm lacking a small dish at the moment for them to eat off of. Yeah, I just found the moss out and about. Picked it all up, brought it home. If you're going to put moss in your tanks, I'd recommend sort of cleaning it out a little bit with just water. Get all the other beasties out of it before you put them in. Yeah, to keep it all going, I'm going to have to spray this one vigorously every single day and make sure the soil's really damp. But with any luck, that should mean it'll be easier to clean this tank, because this one, you have to throw everything out at least once a month and start again. Whereas this one should just keep itself going. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. So this one is the older of the two tanks. That up there you go, that's... Oh, it's so hard to focus through this tank. There's a lot going on in here. That's Thumbelina, who was so small when she first came home. She's so much bigger now. Absolutely adorable. I've got Chester in the background there. Somewhere in here, they're not visible at the moment, but we have also got Rosalie, Balthazar and Lord Helix. Lord Helix is the strange one that doesn't match any of the others. So I think Thumbelina and Sweet Pea are definitely garden snails. Like I said, I'm not sure about Lazarus. Balthazar and Chester and Rosalie are definitely all banded snails. Lord Helix is a round-mouthed snail. I think I've got some video of him somewhere that I can show you. So round-mouthed snails are different in that they are quite a bit smaller than the rest of these guys. Their shell is conical rather than sort of just rounded. And they have a lid. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a lid that they use to close off the end of their shell while they're sleeping. So whereas these guys just make a seal with their sort of funny little mucus stuff, Lord Helix will have a little lid that he closes instead. Which does mean if he drops into water, he can actually survive for longer without drowning, which is kind of interesting. But he likes to bury himself in the soil rather than stick to the sides like the others, so I very rarely see him, actually. He's normally buried somewhere completely invisible. He's quite a dark brown colour, so matches all of the rotting leaves that are in there. He has also got a really long nose. The others have all got their rounded little faces. He's got a nose, which I wasn't expecting. It's so strange. It's like a tiny little snail elephant type thing. The bigger of the two tanks is due a clean out within the next week. It is looking a bit sorry for itself. This is, you can see it's starting to mould a little bit in the bottom there. All the natural process of decaying plant life, really. But the banded snails do like to eat half-rotted leaves. Actually, Thumbelina does as well. They particularly like rotting ash leaves, I've noticed. So I make sure to get plenty of those in for them. I got the tanks from Amazon. They're technically called faunariums. They were quite cheap. I don't usually like ordering from Amazon because, you know, big company. Bleh. But this was the only place I could find them. You have to make sure there are air holes in them so that they can breathe. And then you just clean off the insides of the tanks once a week, because they do poo a lot. There's no doubting that. There is a lot of poo. And then, yeah, full tank clean once a month. Unless, of course, you set it up like that one there. One of my houseplants is just at the top to give a little shade to that edge, because the window beam sail onto this one. I'm just thinking it's summertime. I don't want to cook my snails. That would be rather grim. So they do sleep a lot as well. Naturally, they would hibernate. So this time of year when it starts getting really cold, they can hibernate. They'll do it in really hot weather as well, and they'll also do it if there's a lack of food. They can sleep for up to 3 years. Oh look, Lazarus is being weirdo and sleeping out of his shell, as he does. If he was out in the wild, he'd be eaten by now. Balthazar holds the record for the most amount of sleep any of my snails have ever gotten. He slept for 3 weeks in October. Then he got up, ate some food, sat in the water dish for a whole night, and then went back to sleep. They're all a little bit strange. And the collective noun for snails is escargotoire, so this is my little escargotoire of snails. So hopefully this wasn't too bad for an impromptu and completely unplanned video of me talking incessantly about snails, like I do every day to everyone anyway. I don't know what it is about them. They're just lovely. So I'm planning on doing a video every week of lockdown at the very least, and then I'm probably still going to film over Christmas as well, all the while I'm not full-time working and I have time to do it. I'm going to be filming so that you guys can watch it if you like. That's the plan. And I guess that means I see you next week. Stay safe, guys.